Well, good morning, everybody in the West, and good afternoon to those in the East. My name is Sean Woodess, National Sales Manager at Verico, and we're extremely pleased to be hosting this event today. I do see many of you still logging on. We've got a very large attendance, which definitely shows the thirst for education from our network, which we're very excited about. And I want to start off by saying Verico is really excited about this program. We definitely wanted to be able to continue to give back and provide more education, more information for all of you to further your success, and hence the program called Verico Scalable Success. We're working with Brian Tracy, a very well-known name in sales and marketing coaching, and they're very familiar with our industry as well. So actually, without further ado, we've got this program lined up for every other week starting today, and the next one being Thursday, October 18th. You're going to have an opportunity to log in for free and attend all of these great sessions. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dominic from Focal Point Coaching and pass it over to yourself. Dominic, over to you.
Thanks, Sean, and thanks everybody for joining us. It's great to have all of Canada on the phone line. That certainly puts a lot of pressure on me, so hopefully I produce here today. My name is, as Sean mentioned, is Dominic Rubino. I'm the Executive Vice President of Global Coaching Operations for Focal Point, and I live in Vancouver. Focal Point is the professional business coaching arm or division of Brian Tracy International. So Brian is a partner in Focal Point, and we operate all over the world, but here in Canada is where the head office for the coaching division is. So when you live in Vancouver, you hear the names Colin, John, and Sean quite a bit, especially if you follow financial news, real estate information, and the mortgage industry very specifically. Those three names come up all the time. So it was very interesting for us to finally sit down and meet with Colin, John, and Sean in the big boardroom there, and very quickly the conversation turned to how can Verico add more value to their Verico community. That turned into a very exciting conversation, and this is the culmination of it here, this launch today of what we have put together along with Verico that's customized for originators like yourself, for the mortgage brokerage community, for adding value to you as you build your business and making sure that you're adding value to the people you serve so that they feel good and continue to come back and, of course, give you referrals. And that's the focus of the content that we put together. If I can, Sean, I hope you don't mind, but a quick aside, I've had the good fortune to work through many countries in the world, obviously traveling with Brian, and our coaches are throughout the world. And when I met with yourself and Colin and John, it was a great meeting. You guys have a strong vision, a strong direction, and a really obvious desire to add value to the network, which is fantastic. I'll launch into who's who in the zoo, if you will, and let you know a little bit about the people on the team as we look at Verico's Scalable Success along with Focal Point Business Coaching, which is powered by Brian Tracy. This is a custom program that's been put together with Verico. We've been working very closely with Sean regarding the material. How will we deliver the material? What will the material be? And a real strong emphasis from the very beginning, very early conversations, to make sure this wasn't just canned stuff. This won't be talking head presenters, or what we call in my industry parachute presenters, people who come in and talk about the only thing they know and try to fit everybody else into that mold. Sean's been working very closely with us. We continue to work together. We've put together on our side a really strong team that I'll introduce you to in a moment. But Brian Tracy, let me start with that.
I registered.
Some of you have heard of Brian Tracy, some of you have not. You'll be learning a lot more about him as you participate in this program. Brian is a long-time contributor to the world of business improvement, sales improvement, and personal improvement. And I'm sure many of you on the line have some of his books or some of his audios. You don't have to say if you have his cassette tapes, because that's just going to give away your age. I have some of his cassette tapes. But some of the books that you may have heard about in the past are The Psychology of Selling, The Psychology of Achievement. Another one that is not directly sales related is Eat That Frog, which has to do with procrastination. It's probably one of his bestsellers. He has 17 bestsellers of the 65 books he's published. And Brian continues to drive value to the markets that he works in, and that's evidenced by the fact that he keeps filling stadiums wherever he goes. So Brian works very closely with myself and my partner here in Vancouver, although he, of course, lives in sunny San Diego. As a matter of fact, myself and the other two gentlemen you'll meet on the line were just with Brian last week when he was at our international conference. So here's who's on the team. Of course, Sean Woodess is the host of this and really the guiding force behind this. A big thanks needs to go to Sean as well. Brian Tracy, I've mentioned, founder of Focal Point Business Coaching. Myself, who you've already heard, as I mentioned, I'm the Global Executive Vice President of Coaching Operations. Just to give you a perspective on what my role is here at Focal Point is I only look after two things, which is great. It's a very nice, short task list for me. But what I look after is coach success and client success. Anything that falls within those realms falls to me and my team, and that's where I drive value throughout our organization. And what we've done with Sean is put together two of our best coaches to bring you the material that's going to be relevant to help you change your business to what you want it to be, add more value to the people you serve, and build a long-term sustainable business with some predictable growth aspects to it. That's really the takeaway that we're looking to add to your team here. So Rupert Whiting is a Focal Point certified professional business coach. Rupert has set some fantastic sales records here internally. As a matter of fact, Rupert was part of a special team that was put together inside of Focal Point a couple of months ago and set a new sales record for which Brian especially pointed him out. Perhaps when you get on Rupert's calls, you'll learn more about his experiences with that. Mike Alpert is also a leading Focal Point coach. Now, he's based in California, and he's a Focal Point certified business coach, but he's also the director of Focal Point Reach. Very deep experience in social media and attraction media. How do you get people engaged with your message while you're putting messages out? And so Mike and Rupert will both be delivering those portions of the material here to the team. And by the way, let me remind you, there's a chat function on this webinar. Please, if you have any questions, send them in. I understand that Pin will be repeating those questions to myself and the team and getting us to answer those for you. So if you've got a question, please let us know. The best way for this to work is not for this to be a eulogy. You know what a eulogy is, right? That's where one guy is talking and everybody else is depressed. If you want this to be relevant, please ask questions so that we can answer back. It's not a one-way conversation, nor should it ever be for us in coaching. We've got a custom program for mortgage brokers outlined here in a very quick visual, and I want to say that the end game for this is to make sure that it's always relevant. Relevance was probably front and center when I sat for the first time and met with the team here in Vancouver. And there's something that I'd like to let you know as well, that on our side, when we are talking as professional coaches about delivering value to the people we serve, we're always looking for this acid test that we place upon ourselves. And if you have a pen handy, a pencil handy, and some paper, write this down, because this is what you need to be challenged with as well from the world of business coaching. And that is this, that everything that we talk about, every tool that we show you, every tactic or every strategy has to be usable within 24 hours or it was a waste of time. Now, the challenge on us is to make sure we're only giving you absolutely the best material, the most usable material every single time we're meeting with you. The corollary to that, the other side, the challenge to you is that you've got to go put it in place. You've got to go take the actions, and we'll show you. Actually, Rupert made this point when he was presenting on stage at conference last week for the rest of our coaches. He said, we are the how. You'll be meeting Rupert in a few moments if we have some questions for him. Rupert said, we are the how. There's a lot of books that tell you what to do, and a lot of books and speakers will tell you, if you have this problem, this is what you should do next, but we are the how to do it, and that's what we're going to be sharing with you. So this structure you see on the page in front of you outlines how we're going to deliver that. Sean already mentioned that we'll be delivering this twice a month for at least 6 months. It's mortgage broker-specific strategies. It's how originators can grow their business. And we're going to be talking in 3 major themes. Now, the first theme is business reinvention strategies. Everything you need to know about taking your business from where it is today, let's call that point A, to something larger, which is point B. What is your goal and how do you want to get there? And the topics and subjects that Sean has pushed us to put together are very specific to that, and Rupert Whiting will be leading off on those. Now, the next one that you see here is social media with regards to mortgage brokerage. A gentleman, a great business coach by the name of Mike Alpert, will be leading those sessions. And that is how to get ahead of social media, but how to put it to your best use as an originator, as a mortgage broker in Verico, to add value to the people you already serve and also to attract more people. And then I'll be handling the advanced track, which is specifically for brokers and high-volume originators. And all of those are to drive value to your brokerage business, ultimately. Here's a picture of Rupert Whiting. And just for the first 6 sessions, we've outlined 3 from each of these gentlemen. And this is what we're going to be covering off. Now, this is meant to drive that value straight to you. So the very first session that Rupert's going to do is how to build a business with exactly the clients you want. Now, if you looked at the upcoming titles, you saw that the title of that is Victor Victim. And you might wonder, what does that have to do with building a business with the kind of clients you want? When you see this concept, when you see it drawn out on a page, it's so powerful and so simple. But what it's going to do is help you change your language when you are sitting across the kitchen table from somebody who's saying, well, I'm getting a better rate from the bank. Or they're saying, well, why should I use you? I saw somebody else's name on the bus bench outside of my house. The way people talk gives you an indication of how to respond, and Rupert has a fantastic tool to show you how to build that. That tool can be used across the kitchen table, or if people are coming to your office to meet you, but it can also be used when you're building your own team, which you see as point 3 here. So it's a very powerful foundational tool. We need to learn that first before we move on. After that, Rupert's going to move into double your income and double your time off. That's a pretty descriptive title, so I'll leave that one on its own. And then how to build a team. And not only how to build a team, but how to build a team doing the right thing the right way, the way you want, so that you can focus on the things that are most important to you in building your business. So that's what Rupert will be covering off for business reinvention strategies. How's my pace, Sean? Am I going too fast, or is this okay?
So far, so good, Dominic.
Okay, good. Well, I haven't heard anybody hang up, so that's a good sign. So we've got, this is Mike Alpert here, and Mike is going to be, as I said, talking about social media for mortgage brokers. So right away, the very first thing Mike's going to talk to you about is the 3 most powerful specialty tools for attracting the right kind of clients. And for those of you that have been in this business for a while, you'll recognize there's a difference between attracting interested people and the right kind of interested people. And Mike's going to show you how to model what you do to gather those kinds of people to get them engaged with you. So what are those 3 specialty tools? How do you put them in place? What do you need to know? And quite frankly, what do you need to ignore? Sometimes with social media, it's what to leave behind and what to do first that's most important.
For only meeting, or is this for the team?
Then you'll move forward into social media tools that make your business a magnet. So how can you use those social media tools to bring people to you? How do you make your business an attractive business? How do you get leads out of the market and take them away from other originators in other organizations? We're okay with that kind of language. And then this one here, always an interesting subject, but we've customized it specifically to Verico. How do I double my database in 60 days? So if you're relatively new with Verico and you have 10 names in your database, how do you get 20? If you've been with Verico for years and an originator or a mortgage broker for years, how do you take the 500 people in your database and turn it into 1,000? But how do you get the right additional people? And that's what Mike will be focusing on. And this is myself here, and now the special track that I'll be dealing with is for large brokerages and high volume originators, as I mentioned. And Colin, John, and Sean are going to be developing that with me over time as we get feedback from the team moving forward. Sean, I guess we're at the point where we can take questions now and perhaps hear from the people on the line who've been so kind as to hear this launch and answer some questions.
Well, thank you, Dominic, and just a reminder, everyone, today's our launch session for this. This is not a one-time event where we attend and change our business overnight. It is a process, and there's every other week the opportunity with new topics and a new process involved that you can implement immediately. So we're, as Dominic's sharing, he's giving you the insights of our next 6 sessions. But if everyone has some questions to start off on how this is going to look and feel, we do have the chat box to type in some questions, and Pin will be monitoring and throwing a few questions back at Dominic if we could. Pin, is there any questions that were coming in?
You know, Sean, while we're waiting for questions from Pin, and I do hear some feedback there, so somebody might be trying to say their question verbally, but with this many people on the line, it's probably best to use the chat function on the top right and have Pin send that, read that question to me. But while we're waiting, why don't I make this offer to everybody? If you do have a pen handy, just write down the email address that we've set up specially for this, which is verico@focalpointcoaching.com. verico@focalpointcoaching.com. And if you send an email there, we'll send you off an ebook that we've created called 7 Secrets to Goal-Setting Success, which is very timely. As we go into the last quarter of the year, you can be ahead of the game with everybody else who's going to be thinking about goal setting in January. Those people who set goals early and start to work towards them, as we know from being professional business coaches, those are the people that crush them, knock them out of the park. So go ahead and send an email there and just let us know you'd like that book, and we'll send it off to you.
Dominic, a couple questions here as well and one from just a reminder as well. If you can't attend any of these sessions for whatever reason, these will all be recorded and housed in our Verico Academy and distributed to Verico members to be directed to the Verico Academy in a password-protected site. So you all have access to this on an after point. We do want you to circulate and talk to your other colleagues and get them on here as well. Now, we do have a few questions coming in. Why don't we start off with Pin? There's a few questions you want to start off with here.
Yeah, there's a question coming from Saskatchewan. This broker would like to know more about your social media content that's specifically for mortgage brokers. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Sure. Mike Alpert, are you on the line and off mute? Can I let you answer that?
Sure, absolutely.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, everyone. This is Mike Alpert. And in the sessions where we're talking about social media, we're going to be talking about what channels to use. We're going to be talking about how to position yourself. We're also going to be talking about how to use social media to be proactive and to connect with who your target market is. And so we're going to be talking about, obviously, we're going to talk on the big three, which Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. But we'll also talk about some other platforms that can be other channels that can be useful in your industry and can get you to where you want to go.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Any other questions coming here, Pin?
Can you talk a little bit more about the victim concept and what it has to do with the industry?
Rupert, if you're on the line, why don't I get you to answer that, and I'll bring your slide up while you're answering it so people can see your charming face.
That's very good of you, Dom. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. So victim really applies to the mortgage broking business very, very directly because it's such a highly competitive business. The saying is, many are called but few are chosen, and I guess in your industry it's like many try to be very good mortgage brokers, but very few, or not very few, but fewer than the number who try succeed. And those people who succeed, not just sticking at the profession for a number of years, but really thriving, they share a common set of traits. And what we find is those traits are shared with other successful people, across professions, across continents, across cultures. And it's, as Dom mentioned, it's a foundational element to understand the victim concept. You understand what is making you successful in areas that you're successful and making, and maybe getting in your way where you're not. And what we find is people either find it intuitive, absolutely, that's how I think, of course, that's why I'm successful. And for those people, it's a brilliant tool to help them coach their people, because very often if it's so intuitive for you, you don't know what you're doing, and the victim concept helps you explain to people who maybe don't think the same way as you do. And maybe you don't think this way, and, I'm putting my hand up on the end of the phone here. We don't always think like this all the time. You'll understand the terminology I'm using after the session. But, understanding when you are, not behaving how in ways that's going to drive your success, and it gives you a tool to snap out of it just like that. So it applies directly to your business in mortgage broking because it's competitive, and we get drawn into being reactive. That answers the question.
Rupert, thank you. It was a little challenging to hear there, so we'll have to we'll make sure we work on that for our next session there. But a little challenging to hear on the phone line. Why don't we end with one last piece here? Over to you, Dominic, or anyone on the team there. But two things. How is this? Obviously everyone's heard about Brian Tracy. How has this been? Maybe you can comment on how this has been customized for the mortgage brokerage industry. And then finally, give us a takeaway. What's the one tip we can do between now and then, our next session, to really maximize the usage of this program? If we could leave it off with that, that'd be fabulous.
Sure. Okay, well, that's actually a good order as well, because I do have a takeaway exercise that we can do on the line. But Sean, if you don't mind, just a reminder to everybody, please get a paper and a pen, because you're going to need to complete a little bit of work during that. Sorry, the first question was regarding Brian Tracy and customizing the material?
Yeah, just how does it relate to the mortgage broker? Obviously, people heard Brian Tracy, but how is it going to customize to the mortgage broker world a little bit here?
So myself and Rupert and Mike were just in San Diego with Brian last week, and he's actually just come back from a trip to Russia. So he came in to speak to our group and then jetted off again. We were talking to him. I was talking to him. I'm sorry, about the strategy that we put in place here and how we're using the material, and he gave us some good pillars and posts to make sure that we stay within. And one of the things that he wanted to make sure that we focus on here is to make sure that we're talking about usable strategies for every type of broker, because at times we focus on high producers or only low producers or people that are starting. And that gets difficult and frustrating, quite frankly, for somebody who doesn't see themselves in either of those camps. So Brian urged me to go back to this material and make sure to work with Mike and Rupert to make sure that we cover all sorts of business scopes. So everything we do will be applicable as you are growing your business in that way. The other thing is that we have to look at the people that we serve first before we talk about serving ourselves. And that's simply because when we're out there as mortgage brokers, we're trying to build relationships with people, not only for the transaction, but for future transactions, for referral-based business. And, you know, for the ultimate question, if you've been happy with the service I've provided, please tell somebody else. And not only that, but we have to ask them in a certain way to make sure those referrals came in. So Brian's got a couple more strategy points that he laid out with me and some notes that I took. So Brian's impact on this has been huge. He's also very popular worldwide with mortgage brokers and has had lots of questions and spoken to lots of different organizations on this. So a lot of things will come out that are part of our strategy from our side that you might not recognize immediately, but have to do with relevance to this market. Is that okay, Sean?
Great, thank you. Sorry, I thought we lost you there for a second. Thank you, Dominic.
No, that's okay.
Well,
that's
listen,
okay.
we'd like to end on that. We're very, very excited about this program. I would ask you all, number one, suggest you might want to listen in on your computer. It's a little bit clearer on the computer, and it takes away some of the clutter going forward. But talk to your colleagues in the office. Again, this is a long-term program that Verico is really wanting to reinvest in your education and help you in your sales and marketing and growing your business and growing your volume and your production. Next Thursday, October 18th, our next session, Pin will be suggesting the time frames and communications out to you very, very shortly, and we look forward to having all of you.
Sean, you'd asked me for sorry to cut you off, Sean, but you asked me for a final exercise, and I have one prepared.
Did they say to do anything?
Yes, is
was, you know,
if you're ready to go, Sean, can you hear me okay, or is there feedback?
I hear you now, Dominic. Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. You'd asked me to do a quick exercise with everybody as a takeaway, and this one's great. I think at least one of the points that each of us writes down is going to relate to both Mike and Rupert when you sit down and attend their session. So if you have pen and paper handy, I'd like you to write the following sentence, and then when you've finished writing the sentence, I'll leave you on your own for a few seconds to complete 3 points. And these 3 points are whatever you want to write down. Now, you might be doing this in private, you might be doing this with people around you, but these are your particular personal answers. You don't have to share them, but you need to be honest with yourself. That's a very important part of this, is being absolutely honest with yourself, because until we do that, we can't move forward. So here's the first sentence. In 2013, I achieved all of my goals because I, and then ... What are the 3 things that you write? First things that come to mind. So I will repeat that sentence. In 2013, I achieved all of my goals because I, and then just write down the first 3 things that come to mind. Now, please write quickly. Don't overthink it, because there's another sentence coming. So let's move on to the second sentence. Very similar to the first, but note the language change. So here's the second sentence, followed by 3 points that you put in yourself. In 2013, I failed to achieve all of my goals because I failed to... And as much as I hate that sentence, I'm going to repeat it one more time. In 2013, I failed to achieve all of my goals because I failed to Now, hopefully for those of you that have, I mentioned the book, the free ebook, if you want it, 7 Secrets to Goal Setting Success. That might help you in answering those questions for yourself. And again, just send the email off to verico@focalpointcoaching.com. But understand that Rupert and myself and Mike Alpert and Brian Tracy, we live in the space between those two answers. That's where we operate. And so our job, the role that Sean and Colin and John have given to us, is to make sure that we answer those questions for you, and that when you look back at that piece of paper, you're able to put big stars or tick marks or X's or whatever you like to do with your goals right next to them. So Sean, looking very much forward to meeting your team and working with them and posting some numbers and successes on the board.
Well, thank you very much for your introduction today, folks. We look forward to having you on an ongoing, every other week sessions to really further your scalable success for your own business. More to hear from you. You'll hear more communications very shortly. And again, thank you, Dominic, and the team at Focal Point.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Pin. Thanks, everybody.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.